We're going to listen now from a candidate who she has been campaigning with. That is Miracle Rankin, also a candidate for Georgia Supreme Court. Miracle joining us now. Thank you so much for being here in studio.
Thank you for having me, Faye.
Thank you so much. And you are challenging incumbent Charlie Bethel on the who's currently serving as a justice right now. I want to start off the interview by asking you, why are you running for this seat?
So I'm Miracle Rankin. I'm a wife, a mother to two beautiful and amazing children, and a 10-year breast cancer survivor. I have the honor every day in my practice to represent individuals across our state in some of the hardest moments of their lives. Whether they're dealing with the loss of a loved one or the loss of a limb, I'm there with them. And one undercurrent and question that I always get is, will the courts be fair to me? Will they listen? Will they take me seriously? And so I've spent the majority of my career fighting for justice for my clients to ensure that they have their day in court and that their injuries are actually appreciated. And in doing that, I realized that it's important that we have equal justice under the law for everyone. It shouldn't matter where you come from or who you're politically related to or who your influences are. Everyone should be treated fairly under the law. And now more than ever, Faith, we are living in unprecedented times that require unprecedented leaders who are willing to stand up to ensure that every Georgian is treated fairly.
Thank you so much. And I want to talk about that. You've been very clear in your campaign messaging. You've been talking about corporate greed, insurance companies, protecting everyday people, as we know that you're a longtime attorney. This could resonate with some voters, but it's not necessarily a policy job. You're fighting for policy. You would be a justice. How do you convince people that you will not walk onto the bench already leaning towards one side or the other when it comes to these cases?
Well, I don't think it requires convincing, Faith. It just requires the truth that justices in our state should be fair and impartial, that they should not come into cases with preconceived ideas and notions, but they should be willing to follow the rule of law and the Constitution of the state of Georgia and apply it equally and fairly to every person. And I think that that's really what's important to me and that drives my campaign. We hear a lot about equal justice under the law. That shouldn't just be a theory. It should be something that we're striving for in every single case. And so that's something that I will make sure that should the people of Georgia elect me, that every case you will know that you will be treated fairly, that I will listen to you, and that I will apply the laws to the facts of the case and the Constitution of the state of Georgia.
Can you give me an example? And it's a little different than our last interview because you haven't held state office like the person who you're campaigning with, former Senator Jordan. But how can you convince those Republicans and independents, even though once again this is a nonpartisan role, that if a case that they want in their favor comes up, that you will be impartial, that you will weigh a conservative thought or a democratic thought and be impartial in making your decision as a justice?
I think one of the biggest things that I could just share with the people is just my long track record of serving the state of Georgia. I've served at so many different capacities. I took my first job at 16 working at a grocery store. And when I went to Spelman College, from the first day that I stepped foot on campus, I was a full-time student and a full-time employee. So service to me has always been at the core of who I am. I serve my clients every day across our state in some of the hardest cases that we have that go before the judiciary. I'm very well learned, I'm diligent in my efforts and my approaches, and I have relevant experience that takes me beyond just the law. And so I think it would be very important that Georgians should know that service is at the core of who I am, and this will be another opportunity to serve them at the highest level and to ensure that the laws are applied fairly and across the board equally to everyone.
Thank you so much for your answer. I want to ask you, just kind of hitting still on that point a little bit, you've been endorsed by groups like Reproductive Freedom for All, other outside organizations spending heavily on this race. If a major abortion case does come to you, why should voters believe that those endorsements will not influence your decision?
So similar to what Senator Jordan previously stated, I can't talk about cases that may actually come before the court. There are canons that restrict our ability to do so. However, even though I may have personal beliefs about the importance of healthcare, I'm a 10-year breast cancer survivor. So to me, having the ability to make important healthcare decisions is essential. I know what that feels like because I've been in those situations where I've had to make decisions about my healthcare between my family, my God, and with my doctor. And to me, I believe that that is important for women and people in our state in general. However, the role of the judiciary is to be fair and impartial, and you do have to sometimes set aside your personal beliefs and follow what the law says and what the Constitution says for the citizens of our state.
And just to be clear, if voters don't know your personal beliefs, could you share them with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to just what I said a second ago about my health care, my own personal health care, I believe that a woman should have the opportunity to make decisions about her health care. I have a daughter that's growing up in this state. She's 4 years old. And when I look at her, I think that it seems very concerning that she has less rights than what I was personally born into. I also just have beliefs that workers across our state should be heard and should be appreciated. In addition to those other organizations, I've received the support of labor unions, and I was deeply honored to receive that support because I've been laboring my whole life since I've been in the workforce. And that is something that is important to me, is that individuals who hold some of the highest seats in our state, that they see the people of Georgia. I see the people of our state because I've stood in their shoes, and I know what it feels like to work tirelessly for every opportunity that you're ever presented with. So that's why those organizations support it is helpful, and I do appreciate it. However, it's more about the belief and value systems that I personally hold, and those are some of the beliefs that I'm happy to share with you.
Thank you so much. And you mentioned that you are a mother, your kids go to school here in Georgia. I want to be careful about how I ask it because you just conveyed that you cannot weigh in on cases that are currently being presented. There is a case on a school teacher, her name is Katie Renderly, who was fired after reading a book to her class that was talking about gender identity. Without, violating that and speaking about cases, how do you feel about the rights of teachers in schools and just the notion that somebody could get fired for what they're teaching in schools?
Yeah, so again, just going back to, I cannot specifically talk about a case that may come before the court, but having children who are school age at various levels, I do appreciate the work that our teachers do. I have had the opportunity, Faith, to go be the parent for the day, and to see what they encounter on a daily basis with a schoolhouse of rambunctious kids who are curious and eager to learn. I believe that we should support the teachers in our state, and I also believe that we need to make sure that we are doing so in a manner, though, that is considerate of other people's vantage points and views and beliefs. There has to be some level of structure to that. Those are just my personal beliefs. Now, what that structure is, I think, is dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But I believe that teachers and educators in our state, they do a very difficult and hard job every single day. My hat goes off to them to have classrooms of 20 to 30 kids that all have different learning styles and requirements, and for them to figure out how to do so and pivot. I've been so appreciative of the educators who supported me throughout my life and who've helped shape me into the young woman that I am today.
Thank you. I want to ask you a similar question that I asked to Mr. Jordan. Miss Jordan. I was going to ask you about the candidate, your opponent, the incumbent. Why should people pick your name instead of the incumbent in this race?
Well, I've worked, like I said earlier, tirelessly for the people of the state of Georgia since I was a young lady all the way up through my current career. I believe I bring a wide breadth of experience to the role. We frequently talk about diversity in situations such as this, and I want to just kind of dig into that a little bit deeper. Diversity is more than just race or gender. It also goes to your perspectives and your experiences. My career, I've been practicing for almost 2 decades, and I've taken cases from inception all the way through the appellate level. It's important that you have justices on our state's highest court that understand what it means to be a lawyer that's pushing forward a case, that's working with judges across our state, and also trying to make sure that your clients receive a fair shot and equal justice under the law. So those are some of the reasons that I believe Georgians should allow me to serve in this highest role, because I know what it feels like to be a Georgian in this state at every various level, be it an employee at a local grocery store, a college student trying to fight my way through it, a breast cancer survivor who is having to deal with healthcare related issues, and a small business owner. I owned a law firm before joining my current firm. So I have a lot that makes up the fabric of who I am as a person, and I believe that those experiences and perspective will be very beneficial to the bench.
Are there certain decisions that the current incumbent has made that you don't agree with?
So I cannot specifically speak to certain decisions. That goes back to those canons that we were talking about before. I think what's most important, though, is to focus on putting the people of Georgia first, ensuring that every Georgian knows that when they go before the court that they will receive a fair shake. So one of the things that I've enjoyed most, Faith, is going across the state and speaking to people and just telling them more about what is the Georgia Supreme Court. And so I was down in Athling, Georgia a couple weeks ago, and a young guy comes up to me. He was about 20, 25 years old. And he says, I have a question for you. So I thought we were getting ready to have a deep conversation. I said, what do you have? And he said, why are you here? I said, why am I here? I'm here to tell you about the Georgia Supreme Court. And he said, well, that court's up there in Atlanta. That doesn't have anything to do with us down here. And I said, sir, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Yes, the court is physically located in Atlanta, but the court is always making decisions that affect our everyday lives. You have to be tuned into that, and you have to understand the importance of ensuring that you have a somewhat of an understanding of the belief system of the justices who are serving on our state's highest court.
And my last question for you, what is your message to voters as they head out to early voting, which is taking place right now, and then your election day? Once again, if you're watching, there is no primary here. The election day is the election day, May 19th.
My message is that get out and vote. Do your research on the candidates that are running for offices in our state and that are running in this race. It's important that you exercise that opportunity to vote and to figure out what you want your court to look like. One great thing about our Constitution is that it allows the electorate, the voters, to make the decision of who do you want serving on our state's highest court. And when you learn more about me and my story and my experience, I would hope that I would earn the trust of the voters to know that I will represent them at the highest level in making sure that the judiciary remains fair and impartial, and that it consistently applies the laws of the state of Georgia to our Constitution.
Miracle Rankin, thank you so much for coming in and spending a little bit of your time with us here at 11 Alive. For all of you watching, once again, I want to repeat it. Voting is underway right now. Early voting is underway right now. Primary day for many races on May 19th, but for this specific race, the Georgia Supreme Court, whoever is decided the winner here will take that seat.